Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this important discussion about the Massachusetts Special Education Policy and Planning Initiatives and how they relate to the State Performance Plan and Annual Performance Report, or SPP-APR. We're excited to welcome Greg Tobey from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's Special Education Planning and Policy Division. Greg, we're thrilled to have this opportunity to collaborate with DESE once again and truly appreciate your time in helping us to provide a clearer understanding of DESE's quality improvement efforts for families and communities. Welcome.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you to the Federation for your collaboration in hosting these meetings each year. And I'm happy to be here. Again, as Renee said, my name is Greg Tobey. I am the IDEA Data Supervisor at DESE, and we are here to kick off our federal fiscal year 2023 stakeholder engagement sessions. And today we will be presenting a broad overview of what the State Performance Plan and Annual Performance Report is, or also, as we call it, the SPP-APR. So to kick us off, going to provide some information about what the SPP-APR actually is. It is a yearly report that we provide to the Office of Special Education Programs, or OSEP, at the U.S. Department of Education. And really, we can boil it down to simply saying the SPP-APR answers the question, how is the state, Massachusetts, working to meet the requirements that are set forth by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA? And we can compare this to a report card that a student may get in school. It's similar because this SPP-APR shows how well each state's special education program is doing to help students with disabilities have improved outcomes and opportunities. OSEP will then ultimately use parts of the SPP-APR and some other information that we provide to them in order to assign us a yearly rating of meets requirements, needs assistance, or needs intervention. So just like a school report card would show the grades for various subjects that a student may be studying in school, math, science, and English, for example, the SPP-APR has subjects as well, and we call these the indicators. The indicators measure things like how well schools include students with disabilities in regular classes, how many students with disabilities graduate, and how involved parents are in their child's education, for example. There are a total of 18 indicators that are included in the SPP-APR. 8 of them are performance indicators, and those measure child and family outcomes. The remaining indicators are compliance indicators that measure compliance with IDEA regulations. Some of the indicators are very straightforward, like the graduation rate for students with disabilities, while others are a little bit more detailed and are a little harder to understand due to the details that make them more complicated in their measurement, such as disproportionate representation, which deals with the identification of students with disabilities. But here on the screen are the 18 indicators. They are numbered 1 through 18. And you can see the names of each of these indicators. Today, we'll go over a few of them very broadly, but in the upcoming sessions that we will have, we'll go into these in more depth. It's important to know that the indicators have some unique attributes to them, and some of the indicators matter at different ages because children may qualify for special education at different times. Not all indicators will apply to every child. For example, a child who starts special education services at age 12 wouldn't have been included in any data about preschool outcomes or the environments that they were in preschool while they were in school. Some indicators collect data at just one point in time of a student's educational career, like post-school outcomes, when we survey students on what they have been doing since leaving secondary school. Other indicators collect data more than once during a student's time in school, like assessment during the yearly administration of the MCAS, or their educational environments when they are in each grade. Are they in full inclusion, a substantially separate classroom, or in another setting? How do we collect indicator information? DESE collects information from schools and districts throughout the year through some automated processes, and that data informs us about graduation rates, dropout rates, assessments, and educational environments. However, there are some indicators that schools and districts report to DESE through various other manners. For example, preschool outcomes is collected through a state-created database. Parent involvement in post-school outcomes are collected through surveys, either given to parents or to exiters. And then we also collect indicator data through monitoring. For example, child find, our early childhood transition, and secondary transition indicators are all collected through state monitoring. So a little bit more about our subjects, if you will, or the indicators. So just like a student hands in their assignment to their teachers and they receive a grade, each year the state submits their SPP APR report, and it provides a status of special education in Massachusetts. Really what they are doing is they're showing how well the state is doing in making sure students with disabilities are learning, graduating, and getting the services that they need. So let's dive into these subjects a little bit more. Let's start with our graduation rate, or indicator 1. This measures how many students with disabilities are graduating with a regular high school diploma. If the graduation rate is high, it is showing that students are meeting all the requirements for graduation. On the other hand, we have the dropout rate, or indicator 2, and that looks at how many students with disabilities are dropping out of school. A low dropout rate ensures that schools are providing the services and supports for students in order to stay engaged, while a high dropout rate means that more work needs to be done on student engagement and retention. We have some subjects or indicators that deal with the environments that students are educated in. Indicator 5 is about school-age children, those children who are age 5 and in kindergarten all the way through 21. And then indicator 6, which is looking at students ages 3 through 5 who are not yet in kindergarten. And they measure how much time students with disabilities are spending in regular classroom settings with their peers, or if they're in substantially separate settings or other settings. We also look at parent involvement, a very important indicator, indicator 8. Parent involvement shows how well the schools and districts are involving parents in their child's special education programs. Schools and districts can perform better when parents are involved in their child's education. Moving on, we also look at secondary transition, or indicator 13. This measures whether or not schools and districts are meeting the requirements of transition planning, which starts at the age of 14 in Massachusetts, and setting students with disabilities up for success after leaving high school. Are they giving them the appropriate assessments and goals and supports that are needed? And then we look at post-school outcomes, indicator 14. This checks on how students with disabilities are doing after they leave high school. Are they going to college? Are they getting jobs? Are they enrolled part-time? Do they have some form of employment? We collect this information again through a survey every year from all of our districts. So what is the goal? Well, the goal is always to be improving. The SPP APR is not just about giving states a grade and calling it a day. It's designed to help states get better every year. Just like a student may get tutoring or extra help in order to improve their grades in their subjects in school, States can look at their SPP APR results and come up with plans to improve. If a state is doing well, they're meeting requirements, but there's always opportunity to improve. But if a state's dropout rates are high, for example, or not enough students with disabilities are in regular classroom settings for a majority of the time, it's a sign that there's some changes need to be made. Again, the goal is always to make sure that students with disabilities are getting the best education possible and are being set up to have improved outcomes and opportunities after leaving school. So that brings us to part of the reason for our stakeholder engagement and the importance of these meetings and sessions that we hold every year. These sessions help improve the quality of special education services, and students with disabilities ensure that students with disabilities receive the support that they need. It promotes accountability. It identifies areas of improvement. It strengthens collaboration between the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, parents and caregivers, schools and districts, and really it ensures that we have student-centered outcomes. So our plan for stakeholder engagement this year is we will have some topical sessions that will be starting next week that include a school systems equity review, early childhood review, a school age review, and then we'll discuss transition planning and outcomes for students. During each of those sessions, we'll talk about the indicators that are most relevant to those topics, provide you with an update on where we stand for data for this year. We'll evaluate the progress that has been made, and largely we'll have discussions around the development of improvement strategies, again, with the goal in mind of improving outcomes and opportunities for students with disabilities in Massachusetts. In the end, the SPP APR is all about helping states improve their grades in special education so that every student, no matter their abilities, can reach their full potential and experience improved outcomes and opportunities. In the table here, I have the same table from a couple slides ago that lists the 18 indicators that are included in the SPP APR. Indicators that are highlighted in green are indicators where we're seeing progress being made in the data on a year-to-year basis. We're seeing students with disabilities graduating and meeting the targets, and we're seeing our dropout rate decrease. We're seeing more and more students being educated in environments with their peers and not in substantially separate classrooms. Indicators that are in red mean that there's some work that needs to be done in order to improve the data. We need to work on our preschool outcomes and ensuring that every student has a rating assigned to them upon entrance and exit from their preschool program, and that schools and districts are submitting that information to the department. We want to ensure that we're reaching all of our exiters for our post-school outcomes survey, and that they're providing us with the information of what they have been doing since leaving school. We have our child find and initial evaluations and our early childhood transition, and we need to work to make sure that schools and districts are meeting the timelines that are set forth, not only in state, but also federal regulations. You will see an indicator that is starred and not colored. That is indicator 18, which focuses on general supervision. It's a new indicator for this year, or a new subject that we will be reporting on. And that is looking at any findings of noncompliance that the state found and whether it has been corrected in a timely manner. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to give you this broad overview of the state performance plan and annual performance report. And I hope that you've been able to find usefulness in the information that was provided. Again, I only went over a handful of indicators in this overview, and in our upcoming sessions, we'll go more in depth through all of them. And I will turn it over to Renee.
Great. Thank you, Greg, for being here. And we just have a few questions we'd like to present.
Sure.
And so to start off, could you explain what the SPP API process is?
Sure. So the process of the SPP APR is spans not only a single school year, but it spans multiple school years. Some indicators, we collect data on them from a previous school year. Some indicators, and those are called, that's lag data. Some indicators are from the most recent school year. So for FFY 2023, the SPP APR that we are going to be submitting this year comes from the 23-24 school year. So we're looking at last year's school year and the data that has been provided. And we collect the data from schools and districts. And then what we do is we analyze it. We look at trends. We look to see how we are performing. And then we put it all together and eventually end up submitting it to the Office of Special Education Programs. And then we post the entirety of the SPP APR on our SPP APR website, and we post the districts, the schools and districts performance on the SPP APR on our data profiles page as well.
Awesome. So can you explain why this process is so important for our schools and our families?
Yeah, this is a very important process because it gives us an idea of not only where the state is in terms of trying to meet our targets that have been set with stakeholder input, and how students with disabilities are performing, or if schools and districts are in compliance with IDEA regulations. But we also look at district level performance towards each of these indicators, and we provide that information to districts for their review, so that they can look and see if there are areas of opportunity of improvement. Are there pieces that more work or more programmatic decisions need to be made in order to improve outcomes or improve compliance percentages towards IDEA regulations? And I think one of the most important pieces of it is the opportunity to engage with stakeholders, parents, caregivers, teachers, administrators, a very wide range of stakeholders, on having the conversations of what can we as a department do in order to assist schools and districts in meeting the targets or meeting improving outcomes for students with disabilities.
Right. That's a lot of data to have to gather.
It is a lot of data that we have to gather, but there is a fantastic team that takes part and puts it all together in order to make it as seamless as we can.
And once you gather all this information, what is it that the department does with it?
So what we do is when we gather it and we analyze it, we're looking at trends. Are we seeing an upward trends in graduation rates, or are we seeing a decline in dropout rates? But we use it to inform the technical assistance and professional development opportunities that we provide to schools and districts based on what the data may show. It could be more targeted technical assistance and professional development towards specific schools and districts, or it could be something more universal that is offered to all schools and districts. But the data that is provided in the SPP APR is really the drive behind the policies and procedures and practices that we have and we implement with schools and districts.
Right. And so how does Massachusetts compare to other states with these indicators?
That's a great question. So after we submit the SPP APR, the Office of Special Education Program looks at our SPP APR. It looks at other data that we've provided to them. And then every June, they issue a determination rating for us. So this past June, we got our determination rating, and Massachusetts was meets requirements. We have been meets requirements for consecutively over the past 6 years. We're one of, I believe it's only 9 or 10 other states that has consistently received and meets requirements determination from OSEP. And so we're very happy with that determination rating. But again, as always, there are opportunities for improvement with what the data is showing and opportunities for improvement for students with disabilities.
And for families who are interested, how can they tell how their child's school is performing regarding these indicators?
So we do report at the district level how a district is performing towards the SPP APR indicators. And that information can be found on our schools and districts profiles pages, which are on our website. And they're under special education results. The very first page provides a statewide look at how every district is doing, but then you can go into individual districts and look at how they did with their graduation rate or their post-school outcomes from the prior year. And we usually post that information right around the time of our state determination being released from OSEP. So late May to early June.
Okay, great. And finally, sometimes a family's personal experience seems different from what the data reflects. And why might there be a difference between the individual experience and the overall data?
Yeah, so when we're looking at schools and districts across the Commonwealth, there are 399 different districts. And we take the data from all 399 of them and we come up with the average or what the percentage is. So as with everything in averages, you're going to have some districts that may be on the lower end, some districts that may be above the state average. Excuse me. But it's important to note that when we put all this data together, it may not always translate into what you're seeing from your own child's district is not the same as what we're seeing at the state level. But it's those opportunities in looking at it that I would highly recommend, engaging with your special education parent advisory councils, your school boards, school committees, and asking, what are we doing in order to improve the outcomes for our students in our district, so that we can be performing at the state performance level or even higher than that.
Great. Well, thank you again, Greg, for shedding some light on these quality improvement efforts. We really appreciate your insight and look forward to helping families understand how DESE works to support special education in Massachusetts. We are encouraging all families and community members interested in learning more about the SPP APR indicators in Massachusetts efforts to improve educational outcomes to join us for this year's upcoming sessions. If you look on the slide, there are 4 sessions this year, as Greg indicated earlier. Our first one being November 14th, next Thursday, on school system equity review, November 21st, the early childhood review, December 3rd, school age review, and December 11th, transition planning and outcomes for students. Registration is currently open for these sessions. You can go to the Federation's website and view our event calendars, or to fcsn.org/DESE-indicators, the hyperlink that's displayed on the slide. We look forward to seeing you there, and we're excited to continue this important conversation. Thank you again for joining us today, and have a good one.
Thank you.